It's a quick 90-minute read. To me, it's a game changer because when you start the book, you get an example of how someone could just not be considered for a grant. Like you get an upfront example, you get introduced upfront to something so simple, but it's the reason why a lot of organizations don't get funding. And when you're thinking about the types of grants that you want to go after, you have to have an understanding of the need. Your needs assessment, your problem statement needs to be clarified, and it needs to not be in silos. A lot of people write grants in silos, so they end up not solving problems because you only thought about the advantage of one department when you should have been thinking about the entire district. A lot of folks, they submit an application, they get rejected, and they leave it at the rejection. They don't follow up with the grantor to ask them, what specifically, how did you score me? Did you score my application? What did I score? What's the feedback that, the other evaluators that might have scored the application as well? What are some of the comments that they left? Can you share that information with me? Can I schedule a meeting with you to get to know better your funding priorities so that when I apply for this again in the future, I know better what I need to be thinking about as it relates to what we can do to align to your funding priorities. And you don't have to have everything together. But if you've been in operation, you've spent money, you've received some sort of form of revenue in return, you've done it for at least 3 to 5 years. You've got a track record of doing the same project, the same program for 3 to 5 years. You also have a strong board of directors. What most funders are looking for is 100% annual contribution from your board of directors, which is why when you look at my clients, I'm always on the board of directors for my clients. I am there to make sure that the board understands their fiduciary responsibility, but also is an active board member so that funders want to support us. How are you valuing their contributions? Do you give them thank you letters? Do you have annual celebrations of just your volunteers? How are you giving back to your volunteers and taking care of your people? That's the other thing that your funders are going to want to know. And then the last thing is going to be all your documentation. How are you collecting data from the people that you're serving? And what types of information are you collecting? Is it evidence-based best practice, or is it just you had a meeting with a board member and y'all decided that you needed to ask people if they smoke or not? And so you added a question to the survey, right? You have to have some sort of academic understanding of what it is that you're doing from a data collection standpoint. And you got to have a good handle on public health. The other part of it is that you have to have some sort of volunteer management system. How are you managing your volunteers, the people that come into your organization? It's not writing. Writing is 5% of it. You have to have everything else, the project management. You have to have everything else ready to go if you want to be considered for funding.